All right, welcome to Raising Funds for World Domination, Day 82. So here's the standard intro. The thing I worked on today was, today I actually completed the accounting. Well, at least in, because of the next stage of it. So I went over my trial balance and double checked my numbers and actually submitted some information to the accountant. So now I have to wait for them to get back to me, and then once they finish it, then I'll click some buttons and stuff, and then it'll be totally filed. And the other thing is I just did a little bit of scripting work for the next video. And once again, next hearing date is October 6th. So we got a while to relax and focus on work. Okay. So yesterday, I completed some really gnarly changes to the block mining simulation game. So the whole recent refactoring arc is on the last release. I could have wrote some very haphazard, buggy code just to get something released, and I'm going through now and kind of refactoring that, trying to consolidate. Got some duplicated functions that I'm collapsing together. Orthoplex 64 sends a wave. How's it going? World Domination, bro, what? So I actually have a video. If you check my channel, it's I think my third most recent video. It's called My Plans for World Domination. It's a picture of me standing in a river, or by a river, with some green grass in the background. Okay. So I think I didn't. I did a little bit more simplification after stream last night, but I was able to get this function a lot simpler. Isn't there an abandoned oil rig right outside Britain? That's their own nation. Nation does a lot of IT stuff. I'll have to search for it. I'm sure there's a YouTube video about that or two. I might have actually even watched some kind of video about that. Yeah, that does ring a bell. I can't remember any details of it, but I think there's some kind of YouTube documentary about something like that. Micronation you're thinking of is Principality of Sealand, self-declared nation established on a former offshore World War II anti-aircraft platform. Does anyone permanently stay there. Really? I would imagine. Yeah, I'll have to look that up again. It seems to me I remember watching a documentary about something like that, but it didn't really work out. I think if it's out in the ocean, it's probably kind of decayed by now. Harley S says hello. How's it going? How's the world domination come along? Surely did not dominate my database exam in uni. That's too bad. Did you have to recite database normalization and what is it? Boy's cod normal form and all those things? Hello, we are an automated AI learning service employed by Vortex AI. We're using live streams like yours to assess and integrate your behavior into our own algorithm. I don't know. I'm not going to say that. I don't know what that means. Yes? Excellent. Message retracted. Well, if you recognize those things, then you got at least a few points on your exam. Dead internet theory right here. I was reading it and then I retracted it again. Wow. I'm learning some bioinformatics for genomics work. Neat. That's an interesting field that I always wished I had more time to learn about, but there's probably a lot of really cool stuff you could do with that. Oh, here we go again. It's got some bugs, I guess. Nice. Is it going to spam it again? I guess I've got him stuck in an infinite loop. Vortex error. Nice. That's fantastic. Vortex shut down. Have a great night. That's awesome. That's almost funny enough that it makes me think it's like someone trolling. But at the same time, it's very believable. Barely passed the exam, I think. Multiple choice section, 30% of exam. It was ridiculous. Every question had one weird answer you're really not sure about. Yeah, multiple choice for that kind of stuff is always really annoying. Like, they always have to make them like super weird in order to make them like not obvious. They I find a lot of them will be it'll be like there'll be one that there's like all of the above, none of the above, A and B and C except for E and this, and the actual like the question ends up being testing like a logic question about, you know, this but not that and this, and like, so it's just really easy to make mistakes in a way that really aren't related at all to the actual material. Bro's been grinding the World Domination Fund for 82 days. Yeah. I'm currently working on a terminal-based video game where you simulate the process of mining blocks. It probably won't compile at the moment, but I have some videos on my channel where I think the second to last video, long form video on my channel, and I'll also have a shorts video on it. Exactly like that. Decide statement 3 and 5 should be correct ones. Then see that option is not available. Yeah, and then of course some of them are probably ambiguous. Yeah, I don't miss doing that stuff. Last exam this semester, at least. Finally got time to learn what I actually need. Gonna dive deep into JS and React, so I can start being useful at work. Yeah, React seems like it's still one of the big languages that's the moneymaker for web development. You know, to mention that's still probably where a lot of jobs are these days. I think the last time I did web dev, I think it was the next.js framework or something. There's nothing ever stays the same. They keep looks like we're frozen. That's not good. Oh, you know what? Probably have an infinite loop. Yeah, last time I was doing React Next.js. That was the framework that everyone was using. There's also React hooks or something, which I don't even know if people use that anymore. Not what I want to do, but got my first IT job. Need it. I need it. There, so might as well. Yeah, you say your first IT job, but you also say you're doing React. Generally, when someone says IT, an IT job, I usually think like the lower end, tech support. But if you're doing React, you're doing like real development work. Hooks is still very much a thing? Oh, okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure. Every 6 months they change to a new thing. There's probably even more garbage in there you have to learn now. I'm German, we call all of it IT. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, it technically is under the umbrella of information technology, but I guess here in North America, I guess, generally speaking, if you said you got an IT job, it would be like the kind of less prestigious, like you're repairing computers, or like old people are calling in saying like, why won't my computer turn on? Yeah, that's great. You got a dev role. When you got your foot in the door, now you can just get some experience, and then getting to the next level will be even easier. That's the hard part, is getting the initial experience. Computer janitor for Janice, the secretary's Outlook, 3 times per week. Nice. All right, I think I must have missed my loop update. All right, I think that does what I want. Sheesh. Is that in relation to the computer janitor statement? Working 20 hours a week, fully remote. For another uni at the other end of the country. Building a big web app for business process modeling and automation. Not as exciting as my last project I worked on that last year. As you said, so glad to get my foot in the door. Even though web dev doesn't look like my calling so far. Yeah, getting honestly, that's a pretty sweet gig to be like all things considered. 20 hours a week. That's 20 hours a week, especially remote. That's a great way to like you're presumably you're probably making like enough to stay alive, but it's not like so much work that it's like burning you out, and you can you have some like time to invest in other areas of your life. So you can do like, several days a week of work. Just crank out your 20-hour quota. Or I guess I don't know if you're going to school on the side or anything, but if you have the rest of your week free, that's great. You can learn some new skills or try to arrange to set up the next thing you pivot into. What does this remind me of? That one Dwarf Fortress game. Lots of people make that comparison. In a way, I would say it's what I want to. Well, it's not really much of a game at the moment. I'm still working on user interface stuff. But what I'd like it to be is kind of like the opposite of Dwarf Fortress. And that Dwarf Fortress is a very like fictional thing. But I'm probably going to start it with like an actual simulation of like real mining. New people. I guess I think we're I guess this is people who are channel members for at least a couple months. So YouTube is going through the rotation of people who have a high likelihood of clicking. Thor drama is getting intense. If anyone is interested, it's fascinating to watch. Yeah, I keep seeing videos get recommended. Honestly, like in my opinion, is like there's all kinds of analysis of him and his behavior, and like I don't really care about that stuff. And then there's people like roasting his code. But to me, like a lot of the like I'm sure if there's tons of code here. Like some of the analysis could just be like, oh, like look how bad this line of code is. It's so long. But like for example, like you could go up to this this function here and say like, oh, this is terrible. It's like not formatted well, and ternary operators, those are bad. But this the way I'm writing it right now, my goal for tonight is to not to like make this code look pretty, it's to eliminate this code. So by the end of tonight, this code won't exist. That's the best, the prettiest code. It's code that you can eliminate fully. Do full-time uni as well, so I'm getting burned out. Oh, okay, plus the 20-hour work. Wouldn't survive off that money. €1,000 a month, so I still need a side hustle. Oh, okay, I guess you're still pretty busy then. But either way, you get the resume builder, and even just getting used to like working on assuming there's like other people on the team, like learning how to use source and like Git and source control with other people. What's new besides writing bad code? I saw some of it, and like one person found only like 2 screens of his code, and it was I don't know, he used some like arrays with hard-coded elements and stuff. But I mean, looking at some of that code that he had, like personally, I rate code like that. Like code, the best bad quality code is code that you can write fast, but you can also like delete it and replace it quickly. The worst kind of bad code is like if it's a critical code path or architecture where kind of like well, honestly, in like in this application here where I had to refactor a whole bunch of stuff, like some of the like the inconsistent dimensions with the screen layers and updates, that I think was super problematic, which is one of the reasons why I refactored it tonight. I only get to join these live streams if I'm awake, when I shouldn't be. I guess you should head to bed then, I guess. I say programming is my weakest skill within deving. It just requires thousands of hours of practice. Feeling half the people are clowning on him. Feeling half of the people that are clowning on him write his bad code. Yeah, that's like some of the critiques I saw. They're like critiques that are not wrong, but they're just like very milquetoast, like first year computer science student level critiques. But I mean, either way, my opinion is just the fact that there's drama about computer programming is a good thing. Drama has no place in programming or engineering circles. It is very dumb, although the unfortunate thing is like drama, it always leads to better like the media space requires drama. Iron Ring Oath specifically says, shall not start yet. I don't know if it says that. Radman says, hi Rob, how's it going? Any discussion is good discussion. I think it's I mean, ideally it would not exist, but like to appeal to a larger audience, like there's a certain type of person that needs drama. I mean, you could argue some of those people, high drama people, are not people you want to work with in software projects. But I think if you want to, like, you know, drama can raise awareness of things to a much wider audience, some of whom, like, they're drama-free people are still interested to know, oh, what is that drama? Like, I mean, we're talking about this right now, and I'd argue this is like, you know, a relatively low drama audience. Most people here talk about programming and stuff like that. So the fact that the information is being transmitted and discussed and stuff, it's successful marketing. Except bike shedding. Radman, I'll skip that question for tonight. Drama and discussions are different things. Yeah, it's true, but honestly, I think, like, just from my experience doing media stuff. It's just a necessary evil. If there's like a drama or controversy, people will be like, so what's your take on this thing? I mean, I discovered that one of the first things that I had that really popped off, I wrote a blog post about like, I declared that unsigned integers are better than signed integers in C because of the lack of undefined behavior. And I wrote this long blog post, and a bunch of people disagreed with me, and it was this like super controversial thing, and they're like, no, he's wrong and stuff, and there's a ton of comments about it. So that was the first point when I realized, like, oh, okay, if you take a hard stance on stuff and like some people are on your side and some people are against you, that whole discussion is what draws in lots of clicks. I'm considering learning COBOL at this point. Interesting. Do you have a job in mind that requires it? I think a lot of drama surrounding Rust is not very helpful. A drama regarding Wayland. I think my opinion is actually I think that the ideal place you can be is if I do anything that's like controversial, I try to focus on like vacuous drama. So like for example, that thing that I said before was perfect. Like declaring that unsigned integers are just better than signed integers. Like that's such a, like what, no one's going to get offended. Nobody gets hurt. Nobody dies. But it's like it's a controversial thing, and people can argue about it and have like, heated discussions about what that means, whether it's better. But it's like at the end of the day, if you say one or the other is better, it's still just an opinion. Whereas a lot of people try to manufacture drama that's actually like damaging to people's well-being and livelihood. Saw your video on life. It's very helpful. Excellent. Hopefully some people can do something with that information. Wayland is good. Wayback is a pretty interesting project to handle corner cases with Wayland. Interesting. I'm not up to date on Wayland development. I'll follow your sage advice. Hit the sheets. Keep on dominating. God Emperor of Axel Heiberg. All right. Have a good night. Thanks for stopping by. X11 can't go any further in a modern security-focused world. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the internals of X11 that much, but I know there's a number of security considerations. Like you have to have, otherwise some people can like remotely connect to your session, which I guess was that was originally meant as a feature, but it's kind of a bug now. Next 11 apps can basically listen to any keyboard events. All apps are keyloggers. Yeah, there's I wrote a really long blog post called "Why is key up event so hard to detect on Linux?" And that kind of touches on that topic of how what do you call it? How it's, the actual like key down and key up events are not necessarily communicated through the terminal. It makes sense if you when you think about the whole like abstraction model of terminals. It's like serial input and output. So when you use a hack Pam's laptop, not sure who Pam is. I don't know. I'm not super interested in. There's enough discussion about those lists on the mainstream media. It infuriates me how like it's just constantly like all we do is talk about it. It almost seems like Pam Bondi. I don't even know who that is. Attorney General. Okay. Yeah, I mean, like there's some people who have access to this. There must be some like something bigger going on. They're just like deliberately trying to. I don't know. Maybe there's going to be some bombshell revelation, geopolitical revelations, because that's all these links to like foreign countries and stuff. But anyway, let's move on from that. Win32 apps that hook into low-level keyboard event can also be keyloggers. Yeah, there's definitely some better thought process that could be used in figuring out key up events. All right, my change did not work. Okay, that doesn't work. When I use VI, sometimes my shit just bugs and I don't don't know what WTF's going on. I think one problem you can have is if you accidentally press Shift, sometimes you'll press the capital letter, and that does some other. Sometimes I end up like trying to move around or something, and then it accidentally tries to like go to the shell and screws up. Should I smoke a cigar now? That's the question. I do quit VI, trying for 20 years. I don't know, those are two very complicated questions to answer. Sometimes I try to use VI shortcuts in Nano. That's why you stick with VI. I'm just a Control-C, Control-V warrior. You gotta learn all the hotkeys. Yeah, I guess in this case I'm using VI and Vim interchangeably. Okay, let's swap the order of these things. Now let's see if that breaks everything. Oh, I broke it. Oh, that makes sense because I didn't update the invocation. All right. That simplification works. We're one step closer to merging these functions. Steve Ballmer. He's the guy who yeah. That's actually just I was gonna ask. He's the guy who's like sweating. Yeah, developers. It's funny how his entire personality and image is reduced to that one image. Yeah, something about Steve Ballmer. Apparently, you might get the impression that he was just like a, kind of a low IQ, hardcore business guy. But apparently, I can't remember where. I think I saw this on a documentary or something. Steve Ballmer scored higher than Bill Gates on like some math competition or like SATs or whatever. How long have you been working on this game for? It's difficult to answer. I've been working on it for, I guess if you want the detailed answer, I have some videos on my channel about the block mining game and the progress reports. But I for the last 82 days, at least. Like the live? Excellent. Helix is interesting. You can configure it like VS Code. Oh, was it you who had recommended Helix to me? I still haven't tried that. Steve Ballmer was quite anti-FOSS. Linux is cancer. I think in some ways, though, businesses go through cycles like that kind of like the anti-competitive like money-making thing it may have actually, like, in some ways you could say the open source they're doing now came from that. So in order to afford all the open source friendly stuff they're doing now, which is arguably a bit better than they were historically, that's kind of financed on the profit-seeking behavior from before. But also, I think it's a danger because Microsoft is not a person; it's a company, and I think it's very likely that they may go through this era where they're a bit like, friendlier to open source, and then, it could even be like the board of directors they'll change the CEO, and then some other CEO will come in and they will completely betray like all the trust and brand that they built up, they will just completely convert that into money. Because if you build a product, there's like you can actually just think about like what's the monetary value of a brand. Like for example, in this context, if I whatever like branding I have, if I wanted to just like sell my brand and maximize as much, get as much money as I can, I could just post a bunch of videos being like, hey guys, my cat is very sick, please give me money for my sick cat. And then I could just post a video like that every day, and eventually people would figure out that I don't have a cat, and then or my cat's not sick, and then they would there'd be like these documentaries published about how I'm lying and I'm a total fraud, and then the money completely stops. And that's basically what a lot of companies go through, that cycle where they built up a lot of trust in a brand, or piece of food or something like that. You go to a restaurant, you're like, wow, that's great food, and then someone buys it, and then they swap all the ingredients out for something like Tim Hortons. For Tim Hortons, that happened. Their food has gone downhill a bunch, and it's going to take a while for people to catch on. Like when they held a mock funeral for the iPhone, when Windows Phone came out. Nice. That's amazing in hindsight. Devoicing battle between FSF and Linus was pretty big. That's what made Linux commercially viable for many companies. Yeah, I forget the details on that, but I remember it watching some documentaries on Linux, and that being a critical part of the history. Watching the stream on my Zune. Tim Hortons is completely inedible. Should have stayed back east only. It used to be good, but then it got bought out by I think it's probably some American company that owns it now. But that's the power of a brand. You just build up a brand, and then you can like sell the brand for a ton of money, and people don't. It takes a while for people to catch on that it's not the same product anymore. I think that should theoretically do the same. Same as Popeyes and Burger King. I think it was Burger King that bought out Tim Hortons, if I remember correctly. Coffee peaked like a decade ago. Yeah, it just tastes like burnt beans now. won't be able to afford a house either way. Yeah, honestly, I used to be a lot more frugal on food, but then I realized, like, if I try really hard, I can save, like, I can save 10% and buy, like, some really awful pasta that's, like, bad for you or something. Or I could just, spend it a little bit more on food, and it has a fairly small percentage impact on my overall saving ability. As always, the discussion returns to toast. Does it? I think this is the first time we've talked about toast. Avocado toast home be just as sturdy as a Bay Area house. But it would also burn down easily. You have two houses? Nice. You basically, there's been, I think around like 2012 or so, there's like an inflection point where if you got housing, if you secured housing, then your wealth is going to go toward infinity. And if you don't have housing, if you don't own at least one property, then your net worth is going to go to zero. Keep voting NDP. I think I think NDP lost like party status or something, or they were close to it. I forget. They got really demolished in the last election. Where do you usually go for grocery shopping, Rob? There's a place fairly close by that I go to. We talked about Toastbusters in chat the other day. Oh, okay. Oh, you mean Ghostbusters? Or maybe there's a reference to some Toastbusters, some parody of it. I remember the Ghostbusters discussion. I forget what Toastbusters is. I used to go to Sobeys, Waterloo a lot, next to some Chinese food place. Yeah, there's been a lot of like up by the university. There's been a lot of like turnover in the buildings that are there. Radman, you're once again you're testing the limits with your edgy comments. All right, this function is almost the same, but not quite. Yeah, it was pretty warm here too. It's like 30, 31 and 32. Celsius. C is still the best. Yeah, it'll be. I think it'll be really interesting once the AI revolution really takes over. Because it almost seems like all of the work on adding these stupid new features, just like C++, is essentially like a small win compared to like just improving AI code generation a little bit. All right, this works. It's one step closer. Actually, I had to abort Gemini 2.5 because it was trying to recursively fix problems flagged by a Rust borrow checker. It was costing me boatloads of tokens. Yeah, that's not good. I can imagine like the whole like chain of thought reasoning, you know, just like basically it seems like making the large language model smarter is just like just spam it a lot more. Like, you know, turn your brain off and just like, you know, spam requests to the large language model. But at some point, it just doesn't figure it out. And so that I can imagine that being the point of diminishing returns. $12. At a Ghostbusters conference, you would go. You really like Ghostbusters. Interesting. Yeah, I haven't coded much Rust, but from what I understand, the syntax is pretty, it can get pretty crazy. I would imagine a language with a more like simple parse tree would probably be more easily understandable by a large language model. Probably like C is actually a pretty, I have a video actually about I think I called it like a criticism of the Chomsky hierarchy, and I really think there's a lot of innovation to be done by just going back to like try and like build a like significant and powerful language that's based on like some of the more pure original theoretical interpretations of like, you know, LL and LR grammars. When this all started, I used to evaluate local models by their ability to write linked lists in Rust from scratch. We're be able to actually do that most of the time. Holy C is a good upgrade. Yeah, I never quite got into Holy C. Too many languages to learn. see if that works. Syntax is a bit more schizophrenic. Yeah, I don't know. I never really learned much about the syntax of the language. I looked at some of Terry Davis's code, and honestly, it was. I didn't look at a lot of it, but from what I looked at, I thought it was remarkably. Some of his code was remarkably coherent and concise, given how disorganized his mind was. There are ISOs floating around with the North Korean Linux. Yeah, I've seen some people have done reviews and like speed runs of Pyongyang Racer. One beef, CBDC. What's that? Yeah. I think it's called. Pyongyang. That's like the name of their capital, Pyongyang Racer. It's like this really cheesy video game where you race around. Interesting. Some glitches. Central bank digital currency. Basically like a government token that will replace the dollar. Kind of like China. I saw some a news headline of like there's a proposal to start some kind of basic income, which I'm sure will just immediately lead to more housing inflation. So whatever they give us in basic income, that's how much rent will go up for everyone. Carney's a weave bankster, so he loves that. Yeah, there's a lot of people in our system that are not, don't really seem to be acting in the best interest of the population. Maybe the bug is in this one. That's not right. Why is that there? Oh no, it is right. $1, not sure why. YouTube is censoring. Yeah, I guess we've hit on one of those topics that they don't want us talking about. The algorithm is listening. I have a regression. Let's just undo that. And then still see if I have that same regression. That very well may be the case. What I was going to post would be obvious. So not sure why they need to cover it up. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of just innocuous topics that seem to get censored. There almost seems to be like no rhyme or reason to it. Oh look, that one does have problems. Interesting. So it seems like if there's a change with a multi-column character, so if if a multi-column character changes to a different multi-column character, there's a problem. Oh yeah, it's doing it wrong. It's updating wrong. Have a good night. Yeah, the UFO stuff, I don't know, I think it's some part of the algorithm. It's beneficial somehow to the algorithm or the system to just boost that stuff for a while, and then it disappears and you don't hear about it again. Censored the first 90% of my wall of text. Nice. Yeah, it seems to be once you get onto a certain topic, then it just it's like, oh, we're going to suppress everything this person says. Okay, that still has issues. Interesting. Eric Remy says, hey again, Rob. What's new? Tonight, we're continuing with refactoring work on the block mining simulation game. I'm pretty close to being done refactoring. Just trying to. I had like 3 different functions to merge together layers, layers of characters on the screen that are displayed on the screen, and I'm consolidating them into one function. And then once I only have one function, then I can kind of optimize it to be a bit faster. Are you going to monetize the game somehow after it's done? I think it'll probably never be done. Technically, it's monetized now. Some of this has been an experiment. Like the game it's pretty like abstract thing with a very small niche target market. So for now, I think the world of business models is changing, and I'm trying to see if there's like I'm going for just the marketing and reach and building like awareness for things. So I think what might be a better long-term model is just get a lot of people to know about the thing I'm working on, and then like for example, I did Kickstarters before, and in the help menu here, oh look, I got some bugs. The map disappeared with some of the block types. Some people sponsored block types. So that anonymous. I did a couple Kickstarter campaigns. So those are. So if you want your name here, you could sponsor a block type. I haven't really advertised that aspect yet, but I think it would make sense. They'll make it like easy to get the game, or like the actual in the industry, microtransactions seems to have become the dominant model, and I probably wouldn't have microtransactions, but if I could think about get the game to be an interesting thing that lots of people know about and are interested in, and then find like ways to add like incremental things, like adding a new feature, and so a person could like there's lots of people that say like, hey, can you add this thing and add crafting and this and that, and I could add all those, although there's just well, as you can see, a bunch of bugs in the UI. All right. So we need to figure out when that progression came in. Need to get the kids addicted to the game, and then microtransaction, so you can dominate the world. Yeah, I think honestly, if there's probably only a handful of people that have played it by now. I think that people are just interested in Linux it and compiled it for fun. There's a bunch of like really bad lag, and once I complete this next refactoring arc, my hope is that it should be like really, really nice and smooth, and there'll be like no jitter and lag, and that makes the UI solid. And then the next like longer term feature I'd like to work on is actually implement multiplayer support. I think that even with the fact that there's almost no content in the game, just making it multiplayer, so I could like, you know, in the evenings I could actually, I could be doing this testing. I could test in the, you know, a shared world that people are actually on, other people on the stream could like interact with and stuff. And there's still quite a bit of work to make it like production multiplayer, but okay, let's see. All right, let's see if the first one had that same regression. Right, this one does not have the regression. Oh, it does have a regression. Oh wait, no, maybe that I'm actually just that far enough away. All right. It's not oh. That's why. Here we go. And this was where I made this change. Okay, let's run that. What is this men I just joined? I can super chat you some to answer your question. This is the development of the terminal-based block mining game, which is this game you see on the screen. All right, so that version has the regression. I could super chat you some amount or something to get the element named. Yeah, actually, if I may actually pursue that model. Honestly, I should probably advertise that as like a thing. There's still yeah, I guess I could. So right now I'm going to focus on natural minerals. And so if you can find something with a CAS number, it's like it's a directory for chemical elements and stuff. So if you can find a CAS number for some kind of like mineral, a natural mineral that you would mine, yeah, I could do that. Actually, there's someone else mentioned they want one. I forgot about it. But yeah, I should probably do a monetization push to for that. But right now I'm focused on trying to get the remaining bugs and inefficiency problems out of it. Okay, so the first commit I did tonight introduced a regression, so that was this change. It's interesting. There's a number of places in my code that might actually be causing this error. All right, brother. When it's ready, name something Eric. So the dedication will be Eric, and then just let me know what it is. What kind of give me a natural mineral that you want added. GL Rob, don't stop doing content. I think you're very funny. Thanks. Oh, and it's 20 pounds too. So we're at 31 CAD. Yeah, let me know if so I guess the you know what, I guess in the future if interest in this, so I have like a manifest file. So when I add the block type, I just add it to this manifest. So we've got someone asked for a specific type of gemstone, and I could only find So, and this thing that was similar to it, titanium dioxide, pyrite, ilmenite, bauxite. That's aluminum ore. All right, the question is why does introducing this break everything? Hello, Robert. How's it going? I'm pretty good. Today was a decently productive day. All right, I got some kind of regression. That came from adding this code. Oh, actually, that might have been related. Maybe that will fix everything. Did not fix it. Interesting. Watched a podcast about dude who created the OMG cable. Oh, okay, that's that like pen testing. cable, or the cable that like you connect it to stuff and it routes things. Got the Elite version. Isn't that thing super expensive? For the like super hardcore version? Almost 200. You need to program the tool. 200 if you're getting into it. Yeah, I guess if you're really into that kind of stuff, it's if you, I guess for corporate environments, it would be worth that. If you're like if your job is pen testing that stuff. I think technically, like, one of those cables, like, it is possible. It is possible to write a driver for a keyboard, and that's basically what it is, as far as I understand. It just identifies itself as a keyboard, and then says, "Oh, the user just typed all these bad commands." So I think this might be where my problem is. just like a rubber ducky. Is that another pen testing tool? I'm not up to speed on these things. Does keylogger too? Yeah, this stuff is only interesting to me in the theoretical case. I don't do any like pen testing kind of stuff. So it's like I know you can do it. I haven't had any interest to actually buy that kind of hardware. That might do what I want. Oh, Eric Ramy, are you still there? If you are, let me know what you want for a block type dedication. I gotta maybe make a note of that so I don't forget. Still broken. Look at that. Oh, you're here. Yeah, I guess if well, let me go back to the block schema. So I guess if you what's the easiest way to show this schema file? So technically, if you want, I could just put a if you don't want to bother choosing something, then I could just stick a dedication on something that already exists, like like a pickaxe or something. But if you want like a natural mineral ore dedication, and do you want the dedication just to say Eric, or so it'll be baked into the game forever. So you may just want it to be more generic. Pickaxe is cool. Which one do you want? There's stone, wood, and iron. And I'll just make it ERIK. Will be the dedication. Stone. Right, so it'll just be like that. All right, I'll make a note. I may discard the code I have because it's not working, but I'll yeah, I'll make a note of that and then merge it in later. Actually, I guess I'm getting to the end of my stream anyway. But yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, and I guess once again to reiterate the answer to your question, I think this model of monetization works. I like the idea of like a person, like if I ask people to like sign up for something and pay $5 or something, that it doesn't feel as interesting. But getting like and it's easy to do it with the super chat, so that way it's better for a bunch of reasons, because I think it's easier for the consumer. It's like people know how to do super chats, and they're paying like Google, which they trust putting payments into YouTube more so than going to some other platform. And even though they take 30%, I mean it's worth it, because it also protects me from chargebacks, which is another big thing. And then it also works seamlessly with my taxes. So whatever people super chat, it just like Google takes their 30%, and then that just shows up. And then when I do my taxes, I don't have to do a bunch of extra crap to I don't have to like figure out the GST, because in Canada you have like, it's actually way more work when someone in Canada buys a product from me, because I got to figure out the tax rate for that specific province. Only thing, I think YouTube takes some non-marginal cut. Yeah, it's 30% is what they take. But realistically, I actually kind of think it's worth it, because of the like the reach, the fact that there's 18 people watching right now, whereas any other platform, like, you have to pay money to advertise. But and then also I think even the 30% sacrifice also is the signal to Google to be like, hey, this channel is good. But also, I'm pretty sure Google uses that data to like filter the individual users. So when a user pays through the platform, it'll be like, oh wow, whoever this person is really likes this content. So then it'll like, that's another signal to Google to find more people who are like similar to that person who paid. Because I think throughout the stream, it just drops in like random people, and over time it learns who's likely to enjoy the stream. Yeah, actually, I think I'll probably throw away all my code tonight. So there's something here is causing a regression, and I'll go ahead and I'll merge that into the block schema, and you'll have in the help menu, you'll show up as under the stone pick. And with that, I think that's probably a good place to leave it for tonight. All right, so I guess tomorrow we'll be back for day 83. All right, have a good night, guys. Thanks.